Okay, good morning. This is Dan Bauer. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. Anything on this channel is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. I'm going to get into it. Um, as you can see over here, scrap account is over 10,000 now. Feeling pretty good about that. Want to do a little update. A lot of that, I wouldn't say a lot of that, but some of that is due in part to Palantir ripping because their earnings call was pretty fantastic, and their earnings report was pretty freaking fantastic. 70% U.S. commercial growth year on year. I mean, that's insane, right? But it corroborates what I talked about in the last video, where they continue to say in quarter two, in quarter three of 2023, that the demand is insane. And when Sham came in and said on Q3 earnings call, where he came in and he said we have 70 boot camps scheduled for this month. Their goal was to get what? I don't know. They said 500 boot camps, AIP pilots, whatever you want to call them. They're calling them boot camps now. They called them pilots before, whatever. That their object was to get 500. And they blew it out of the water with 560. I watched the earnings call twice. I'm going to go over like some of the other things on the earnings report here in a second. But it goes to show, like, earnings calls, when the companies do earnings calls, you need to listen to them. If you're going to be invested in these companies, you need to take seriously the earnings calls. Anytime they have investor presentations, like Palantir has this thing called AIP Con, their AIP conference. You need to watch those. You need to, you know what I mean? Anytime they put out news or publications of any kind, you need to read them. Anytime the CEOs, CFOs, whoever, C-level executives are doing interviews, you need to watch them. You need to pay attention. And here's why. Because in these interviews and stuff, they leave clues for the future, right? And if you pay attention and they leave clues for the future, you'll know, hey, look, Palantir's about to fucking blow out guidance. Here's why. They keep talking about the demand. And each time they talk about the demand, the next time they talk about it, they're corroborating the story. They're not lying to you. And this goes to show for many other freaking companies. But anyways, let's go directly. I'm just excited about this, due to the weekly contributions and due to I scrapped like $176.90 worth of stuff on Monday. I got some more scrap. I'm going to go scrap today. I found a ladder on the side of the highway. That's probably like 20, 30 bucks. This is a pretty big ladder. I'm going to scrap that. That's going to go straight into this account. You know what I mean? And we can't look at it as 20, 30 bucks because I'm going to put it in great companies that are executing, that have shown they can execute, and that will continue to execute. I mean, I bought 2 shares of ELF this morning, right? Okay, it went down a little bit from where I bought it, but one thing I listened on ELF's earnings call last night that I thought was incredible is that they have had 20% plus growth over the past 20 quarters. What? You got to tell me that this company's got 20% growth for the last 20 quarters straight? One in five companies in the entire freaking world that is doing that. And I'm probably gonna go into depth. I'm going to go over the earnings call a little more. I might even just play it on this channel for you guys to watch. Their earnings calls are something different. A little bit different than your normal earnings call, presentation and so forth, because they do little videos and stuff in it. But Elf Cosmetics, holy smokes. It might have a high PE or whatever, but I mean, they just keep executing. And they just keep executing, and they just keep executing. I wish I had started this account sooner. I really do, because I could have got some great companies for some, excellent prices. But you know what? Started in October. Going to continue to make good moves, and going to continue to work on this. It's a very small dollar amount now, but what's it going to look like in 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now? The time horizon for the account is 10 years. In 10 years, we're going to see what we have and make a decision on that. Over the next 10 years, going to continue to do killer research, going to continue to do good stuff. All right, well, I'm going to get to what I wanted to talk about on Palantir here. All right, we're pulling up Palantir here. All right, so we're just going to talk about this. Palantir reports its 5th consecutive quarter of GAAP profitability, 4th quarter GAAP EPS of 4 cents. All right, and they're corroborating what they said in previous quarters is that they're going to maintain GAAP profitability from here on out. They keep getting better. Let's just hit it like this. I'm going to go for the Q4 2023 highlights. GAAP net income of $93 million, representing a 15% margin. That's they had about $30 million in net income this same time last year, right? So year on year, that's a pretty good increase. Let's see what they had. I'll go to dun dun dun. Tier. Profile. Okay. Well, maybe I'll figure this out on this thing. Well, I guess I'll go back to what I was doing. Anyways, I believe it was like 30 million in Q4 last year, right? So that's a triple up. 5th consecutive quarter of GAAP profitability. GAAP income from operations of $66 million, representing an 11% margin. 4th consecutive quarter of GAAP operating profitability. GAAP earnings per share, EPS of 4 cents. Adjusted EPS of 8 cents. Revenue grew 20% year over year and 9% quarter over quarter to $608 million. So they beat estimates. Estimates were around $602 million. A big deal. Coming in and beating. Their U.S. commercial highlights, I think this was one of the biggest parts of the earnings call and the earnings report that I thought was huge. U.S. commercial revenue grew 70% year over year and 12% quarter over quarter to $131 million. We have to understand how big that is and how little that is. Big that they grew 70%. Little that it's only $131 million a quarter. Think about the amount of enterprises and large enough companies, even the smaller companies. I mean, we have to understand that this can get a whole lot bigger. A whole lot bigger. Because they're not just one industry. Like, everybody should know this who follows Palantir, but they're not just one industry. Their software can be applied to any industry. And that is huge. We have to understand that. We have to understand that their software can be applied to any industry and serve any industry and save or allow these companies to make money over any industry, which I think is absolutely insane. Any sector of the economy. The utilities, Airbus, BP, the home builder that they got last quarter for $40 million. Let me just keep going. All right, U.S. commercial customer count grew 55% year over year and 22% quarter over quarter to 221 customers. Right? You think that they're 221? That's such a small chunk. That's such a small chunk of the amount of freaking U.S. companies that could use Palantir software and will eventually do so because they are the freaking best at what they do. Let's just throw it down like that. I'm just painting the picture for future growth here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know a lot of people see that, but this is not a company you trade in and out of. This is definitely not a company you trade in and out of. This is a company that you add shares. In the dip, you add more shares. If it dips more, you add more shares. If it goes up, you add a little more shares. if it continues to go up to the sky, to the moon, you fucking add more shares. The growth runway is absolutely massive. For right now, anyways. Now, over time, it may slow, but who knows? Maybe it doesn't. Here's the beautiful thing is they're going to continue. They're going to continue to innovate and disrupt these other companies. And we have to understand that is freaking huge. And we also have to understand that they've been working on this stuff for way longer and way before everybody else, which means they're way ahead of the game. And what happens when you're way ahead of the game? You stay way ahead of everybody else. And here's why. Because you have the foundation laid, and they're just trying to start laying the foundation right now. So you've got the whole house built, and now you're putting add-ons. Well, all these companies, other companies who are trying to compete with you, they got the foundation built. They're working on the framing, Anyways, let's keep going. U.S. commercial total contract value (TCV) of $343 million, representing 107% growth year over year on a dollar-weighted duration basis. U.S. commercial remaining deal value grew 32% year over year and 28% quarter over quarter. Commercial revenue grew 32% year over year and 13% quarter over quarter to $284 million. Government revenue grew 11% year over year and 5% quarter over quarter to $324 million. And customer count grew 35% year over year. Adjusted income from operations, $209 million, representing a margin of 34%. That's pretty freaking good if you ask me. Fifth consecutive quarter of expanding adjusted operating margins. Cash from operations of $301 million, representing a 50% margin. Adjusted free cash flow of $305 million, representing a 50% margin. Cash and cash equivalents and short-term U.S. Treasury securities of $3.7 billion. So they just keep adding to the cash on the balance sheet. Let's paint a picture here. This company has absolutely no debt. They have $500 million in revolving credit facility that they have completely undrawn. CARP has stated that their company is not for sale and they don't need to acquire anybody else to continue what they're doing. Not that maybe in the future they won't acquire somebody else, but right now, and that they couldn't with an excellent balance sheet. But we have to understand that they're going to continue to build upon this. And this is all I want to really talk about. Like, you have to understand here that Palantir is kicking ass. It is kicking ass. And, I can't talk about them enough. I said, with a lisp. But let's go to the fiscal 2023 highlights. So revenue grew 17% year over year to $2.23 billion. I think, by the way, I really think that they're going to blow out their guidance that they gave for the upcoming year of 2.6 to 2.7 billion. I really think that they're going to blow that out of the water. I just think that as the year goes on, as AIP keeps happening, as all these other customers come in and they start talking to their buddies at other companies, I think that it's going to push a revolutionary change in the landscape of how business is done for the most part. And it's going to be because Palantir's software. And I think, this is just me. This is my opinion. I think that, the amount of money, time that they're saving these companies, it's going to blow Palantir up, but it's going to make a push within a lot of different industries to compete with the people who have Palantir, that they're going to need it. I mean, let's go back to one thing CARP said on their earnings call, and I thought this was very important, and I don't know that a lot of people really talked about it, but when CARP came out and he said this specific thing, it really blew my mind, and I don't know that I watched too many YouTube videos where anybody brought this up. He said, we're telling people in other countries that work for us, they need to pack their bags and come to the U.S. Why? Because our commercial market is growing like crazy, right? The commercial customer count is growing like crazy, and they have so much demand that they can't freaking keep up with it, and they need them people back in the States to help build this, to help do this stuff. And I think a lot of people might have slept on that, but that to me says this: we can't keep up with the demand. We truly can't keep up with the demand. We're hiring like crazy. He also said we're hiring like crazy, and we're getting applicants from all over the place, the best of the best. And you know what? You know what he's steadfast have been saying is that we ain't hiring you if you're bullshit, right? If you're a fucking inferior employee, we ain't hiring you. That's what Carp said. That is what he said. He has said that. And so if we understand we're getting all kinds of applicants, we're going to choose the best of the best of the best. And if you ain't the best of the best of the best, you can get packing, baby. Oh, by the way, and our people across seas, we need you here in the U.S. Because our demand is incredible, which tells me that over the next few years, we're going to see an explosion in Palantir growth. And what happens when you see an explosion in growth of a company? The stock price goes up. All right, that's my 2 cents on that. We'll go over this. Commercial revenue grew 20% year over year to $1 billion. So they're $1 billion run rate. Carp said something about $1 billion run rate by 25. It's 23. And let's just put it like this: it's going to be bigger. And what was that? 2 earnings calls ago, the third earnings call, Q3, he said we're just going to keep pouring our resources and our money into the commercial segment because it's the only thing that matters. And you know what he said? It was growing 55% year over year then. That's what they said then. And now it's 70% year over year. I don't know that it can get higher in year over year growth, but we're going to find out. All I can say is if they maintain, 50 to 75% commercial growth rate over the next fucking few quarters, maybe year or two, we're looking at a massive explosion in Palantir earnings and revenue growth, no doubt about it. Commercial revenue growth, or U.S. commercial grew, my bad, people. U.S. commercial revenue grew 36% year over year to $457 million. Government revenue grew 14% year over year to $1.2 billion. GAAP net income of $210 million, representing a 9% margin. GAAP income from operations of $120 million, representing 5% margin. Cash from operations of $712 million, representing a 32% margin. Adjusted free cash flow of $731 million, representing 33% margin. Adjusted income from operations of $633 million, representing a 28% margin. Now, I've been going on and on about this, but I mean, it's pretty incredible what we are witnessing here for Palantir. And let's just go over guidance. We just went over this basically up here. For Q1 2024, we expect revenue between $612 and $616 million. I believe that's probably going to be beat just a little bit. They're going to beat. They sandbagged it a little bit. They're going to beat. They want to beat. That Kohl's deal that they got at the right before, was it last week? Friday or Thursday. It came out last week. That's gonna be a push. I don't know if that's gonna be counted on your Q4 revenue, but I'm thinking they're gonna beat. But still, that's gonna be huge year over year growth. Let's not forget that. Adjusted income from operations of 196 to 200 million. For full year 2024, we expect revenue between 2.65 and 2.668 billion. I really think they're gonna blow that out. U.S. commercial revenue in excess of 640 million, representing a growth rate of at least 40%. I think they're gonna blow that out too. And here's why. Because they went from 55 to 70%, and they're talking about the demand. They lowballed that, in my opinion. I really believe they lowballed that. At the end of the year, I'm going to come back to this video in next year's Q4, and we're going to see if they really lowballed that. I really want to know. I might make a note on my calendar and just put that there on my calendar. I'll show you what I do for my calendar in one of these videos coming up. I think it would change the way you guys do investing and the way you think about it. It's going to be a really cool video, in my opinion. Adjusted income from operations, 834 to 850 million. Adjusted free cash flow of 800 million to 1 billion. Damn, that's a big jump, right? GAAP operating income in each quarter of this year and GAAP net income in each quarter of this year. This is important. Maybe you go to the investor presentation or to Palantir's investor relations page, rather, and you can skip this. This is just, forward-looking statement, blah, 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 their legal statement that they have to do so, they don't get sued. But this is something you want to read. You want to read all this. You want to go through and you want to read it all. I've been yapping for a while, so I'm going to close this video up. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. I'm going to keep bringing it. I'm going to keep coming with it. I'm going to keep doing this thing. It is my goal to bring some of the best research I can to the table here for people to listen to and learn from. That's all I got for that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of the journey.